today, 2023. If you are here for some live paper crafting with Jo, you are in the right place. So I am Joanne Rogers. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Central Alberta, Canada, and I've been designing with you in mind since 1999. So as you come on, please let me know where you are watching from. I always love to know what our reach is and where people are getting their inspiration from, and hopefully there's a card that we're going to do today that you are also going to get some inspiration from. So while you're coming on, I'm just going to make sure I'm in the right place. I think I am. Be sure to say hello. I'd love to see those comments come through. And I am on YouTube live today, and tomorrow you will see this blog post. I'm not making much sense here. I'll have it on a blog post as well as some close-ups of the card that we're going to make. So one of the bundles that is in the catalog is called Timeless Arrangements, and it is a fabulous bundle. So I wanted to do a card to show you how you can use this bundle and throw in a bunch of different tips on how to create a really pretty card. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So I always have a question for you when we are going live, and my question for you is, if you had to choose between a set that was flowers or leaves, what would you choose? Flowers or leaves? And I'm just interested to see what your answer is there. So I see a few people coming on, and I see, hello Debbie, I'm glad you're here. Let me know where you're watching from, everybody. Let's see you in the comments, because anybody who posts a comment today, either today or on the replay, I am going to give away the card that we are going to make. So I will randomly do a draw next week on my Facebook Live. And so you want to make sure you have a comment in here so that your name goes into the draw. So for those of you who follow me often, I am here every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And I am really happy to share some card making inspiration with you. Usually it's card making, sometimes it's 3D projects. And I have just come back from the Stampin' Up! Cruise to Norway, and it was a huge ship. It was the Royal Caribbean Anthem of the Seas, and I think there was like 4,900 people on that ship, and 20% of them were Stampin' Up! Folks. So they were either Stampin' Up! Demonstrators or our +1s. So in many cases it was the spouse, but it was a friend or a son or daughter or a mom. So there's all kinds of ways that people get to be in a Stampin' Up! Cruise, but also there's a number of staff and a number of people who are close to Stampin' Up!, like the family, the Gardner family, many of those there, as well as some of the board and directors of the organization. So it is a huge opportunity to meet and greet and just have some fun. There is not a lot planned for you in terms of activities with Stampin' Up!, just a couple welcomes and a farewell, things like that. But it was a fabulous cruise, and I would highly recommend going to Norway. It is a beautiful, beautiful country. How many of you have been there before? I was doing some posts. I'm going to point you down in just a moment. I was doing some posts because I'll hold it up. I took my catalog with me, and I realized that that's probably reading backwards, but you can see all of the luggage tags, basically, of everywhere that we were. And you can see I had lots of little posts with this little caddy doing some different things while we were away. And you can find all of those over on either my Facebook page, which is just called Design with Jo, or if you want to join in on our group, which is Design with Jo VIPeeps. And so if you want to find any of those, either of those rather, go ahead and head on over to Facebook and you'll see all my posts there. Okay, I am going to post you down now. I see hello Carolyn and Marilyn and Joanne, so glad you're here, and Susan, and I'm seeing that most people would choose flowers. And welcome Nadine, I'm glad that you're here for the first time. And that's interesting because I think if it were up to me, I actually would choose leaves. But this particular stamp set has both. And so when it has both, I'm really attracted to one where you can get a lot of flexibility. Okay, so let me turn you down and let's get going here. I think I'm going to turn you down. There we go. Here we go. It's been one of those days. So I am still jet lagged because we didn't get home until late on Sunday night, and it is now Tuesday. So how many of you have suffered from jet lag before and know exactly how I am probably feeling? I'm going to come in just a little closer. So yes, this is our catalog. And so this little caddy went a bunch of different places. It went from Red Deer, which is where I am, to Calgary. Then it went to Denver. And then it went, well, it was up in the sky, 37,000, but I think we were at 40,000 feet, might have been our highest from what the pilot said. And then we were in London and we were in Southampton. We were somewhere in the North Sea in the middle of nowhere, probably headed to somewhere though. And our first stop was in Haugesund. And then our next, we tried to stop, was in Geringer. And this actually, we weren't able to make port here, unfortunately. Just the weather, the wind was too much. It actually broke the mooring ropes, and it looked like a beautiful place. That's why it was almost Geringer. And then we went to from there to Olden, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous little tiny little village, about 400 people. And then we went to, where is it? Stavanger. Stavanger actually is how you say these. So the G's on the Norwegian names are hard. So somewhere, something a little bit different. And then home to Red Deer. So this little caddy has been around a little bit. So he or she, what is it? Is it a he or she? You guys can decide. Is feeling in need of a little bit of rest and relaxation. So we'll put it aside. But you know what I should do first is I should find the timeless arrangements. I'm going to show you close up, but let's find it here first. I should have looked this up in advance. It's on page 67. So 67 of the catalog, you can find this set. And when I looked at it the first time, I thought, yeah, it's a nice set. Don't know that I need it. And then I looked at the ideas up here, and they were okay, but I think I didn't necessarily like their color choices for these particular samples. And so I didn't get it at first. And then I went to a team meeting with my upline, and we made this card featuring all 5 of the new in colors. And after we made this card, it's like, yeah, I see a lot of possibility in this bundle. And so that's why I decided I was going to get it, and why I want to showcase it for you today. Because sometimes we do that, right? We look at it and we're not necessarily attracted to the colors, or there's a little too much going on, because there's a lot in this set. There's 26 stamps. And then in the dies, there are, how many dies are there? Let me see. I can tell you right now, there are 16 dies. So here's the stamp set. Let me get the catalog out of the way. Here is the stamp set. So lots of great words on here. So your kindness means everything to me. A very big thank you. I really like the thank yous, and that's what we're going to be doing today. I really appreciate you. So another way to say that someone is meaningful or close to you, you really do appreciate them. And so you mix and match, and you usually put the words together. So you might say a very big thanks, or a very big thank you, or there's another one. This one here is all one. So just can't thank you enough. And so that's how you can actually create using two word stamps together. So I'm going to show you that today as well. And then there are some images as well. So there are leaves and flowers, berries, I would call these. So we're able to get sort of a botanical kind of look with this stamp set that you might not have noticed on first glance. So the stamp set is pretty gorgeous, but it really is the dies that steal the show. So 16 dies, and it's hard to see them when they're just on a piece of magnet like this. So what I did is I took them all and I cut them all out so you could see them a little closer. So what's really unique about this particular die is that there's all these little, 4 of them actually. They look like, oh, I don't know, like little labels with dies attached to them. And you know how often we want to create an element, a focal point on our cards, and we glue a whole bunch of things together. This makes it really quite easy. How many of you actually have picked up this bundle already? Let me know just in the comments. And so there's leaves. This here is a flower. So there's 2 flowers on here. This one has holes in it, the flowers, and this one does not. This one almost looks a little bit more like clover or maybe pansies to me. And then there's ones that are more berry-ish, like this one. So each one of these has a standalone die that goes with it that matches so that you can add more if you want to. And then there's 3 rectangle dies, and they are stitched, but that's really cool because in the middle of every stitching line there is an X. So just to give a little bit of something different. And then all of the ones that are stamped images are I'm going to call those berries, the leaves, the flower, and then these get, you know what they remind me of? And they're not, but the first word that pops into my head is bulrushes. And I absolutely know they're not bulrushes, but what would you call these? What kinds of plants would have something like this? I'm not sure. Joanne, you have it and you really like the tabs. Yeah, they are great to work with. And so that's what I want to show you today. So let's pull it aside and let's maybe get something going here. Okay, so I am using different colors than I did for my sample. And I like to do that because I want to show you possibilities. And so what we're using for today's card, we're going to use Pebbled Path, probably my favorite in color. And we're going to use with it a really nice contrast with our Pretty Peacock. Everybody's favorite color, I think. We were so happy to see this one come back. And so the measurements are here, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. So just a regular standard card here in North America. And then I have a piece that is a little bit bigger than what we normally have for our mat. This one is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it's just a little bit bigger. And then I have 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4. And we are going to stamp on these pieces to start. So I'm going to pull that aside. But we're first going to stamp our words. So I'm going to pull this in to stamp on today. So this is the I'm going to call it the squarish rectangle. I can tell you what the measurements are for this one. So this guy here is 2 1/8 by 1 3/8. So that's the size. So it's a nice size to fit on there. And I have a very big thank you. Upside down. Thank you. So we are going to use, what I want to do with this particular card is I want 3 different colors. So I've got my Pebbled Path, I have Pretty Peacock, which are the 2 colors, and then I pulled in another color which was just a little bit different. So this one is Misty Moonlight, and I wanted the grayish blue kind of tones, and I thought that it coordinated quite well with these 2. So I'm on a little bit of a kick where I'm trying to use up some colors, or not use up, I'm trying to combine some colors that we don't necessarily think about. So just as you are watching, take a moment to like and make sure you follow me on YouTube, please. I post lots of different videos, lots of different tips and tricks too. So I always like to give you a little more bang for your buck when you buy things. And I like to give you tips so that you know how to use the stuff that you do buy. Okay, so we're going to do a very big thank you, and I'm going to do it in the color. I'm going to do it in 2 colors. One, the color of the card itself, and then also the color of the matting. Okay, so the very big is going to be in Pebbled Path, and I'm going to try and get this straight, so without getting my head in there for you. And so very big is going to, I'm hoping it's going straight. And I did stamp these in, or cut these in advance, just because I wanted it to go a little bit quicker. So most of you are quite adept at cutting with your your Big Shot or your Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine, or if you have a Cricut or whatever die cut machine you have, you already know how to do the stamping. So we are mixing these two colors. So I'm going to try and get that centered on there and centered underneath the very big. So when that happens, just rather than trying to get your finger in there too much, it will probably just like that fall off on its own. Because sometimes when we stick our finger in there, then we end up getting ink all over us. So I'm just going to clean these as I go today. So this is our simple chamois. Mine is cut in half so I can use it to pick up and go on top of a larger stamp. And it's just a little bit damp and it looks atrocious. But I hope everybody's looks just as atrocious, because that's exactly what you want. Then you know you're using it. Okay, so we're done with that guy. So now we're just going to set him aside for just a little bit. We are now going to go in and we're going to, no, we're not going to do that yet. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself. We are going to go in and we are going to stamp. So I want to stamp with 3 different stamps, 3 different kinds of images. And by that kinds, I sort of mean, here we have a tall skinny one, this one here is a little bit fatter, and then this one's sort of in the middle. Leaves, berries, and whatever I'm calling bulrushes that you guys haven't actually let me know. So anybody who's coming on now, I'm going to be mailing out this card to one lucky winner next week. So anybody who makes a comment and joins in, feel free, because your name will go into the draw. So we're going to start with the biggest one, and I'm going to do this one in, I'm going to move these aside, I'm going to do it in my pretty peacock. So I have my grid paper underneath, and I'm just going to randomly stamp this. Now when you are stamping, what you want to do is you want to move your stamp around. We're going to come in from the sides. So we're going to start over here, and you want to stamp more than once. You want to get as much value out of this as you can, and you can see how different the impressions can be. So a darker one, a second one. I could even go one more if I wanted, and maybe I will just over here. Okay, now the thing to know when you're doing this, so if I had gone and only done a portion of this, and I'm going to do it here just to show you. Actually, I'll do it over here. So if I had only done a portion of this one, look at, I just got ink on our paper from something. And then if I had gone to stamp the whole thing again, here's what you're going to get. Okay, you're going to get a darker bit at the bottom than you get at the top. So if you're doing the two stamping like I did, make sure that you're only going to be stamping this part as part of the second one. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And then we're going to, I think maybe we're going to do this. We're going to put one here just to look like we had planned that little bit of gunk. Now we're going to go in with our berries, and we're just going to stamp those right over top. And again, see, there's what you're going to get. You're going to get a darker on the bottom and a lighter. So I did that on purpose, right? How many of you do as I say and not as I do, apparently. Let's put that guy down there. And a little bit there. Okay, so we're going to do less is more to start, and then we're going to come in and do a little bit more afterwards. So you can probably see that I am turning my stamp in different directions, and that's exactly what you want to do. I'll have this one come up a little bit more, and you want to so that they're all looking just a little bit different. Okay, let's get this guy coming in here. Maybe a lighter one. Let's do a lighter one over here. Okay, so what you're doing is just creating, like you're looking through a window where there's a little bit of a, it's not a jungle, but some fun things going on out there. And let's put down here. Okay, now where do I need more? So now that I've got that, where do I need more? I think I'm going to put a little bit more here. I'm going to come in with my berries again. Now you can change up colors if you want. I'm not going to. And you can go right over top of one another. That's perfectly fine. And let's put this guy here too. Okay, so now it's starting to look a little more full. Before I do anything else, now we're going to pull in our blending brush. So this is the large blending brush. I don't currently have any of the small blending brushes. If you have never tried one of these before, they are the cat's pajamas. These are wonderful little brushes, and there are, I don't even know how many, but like hundreds of tiny little hairs in here. If you were to leave this sitting on its top, shall we say, I'm going to call that top, over time that would bend out of, it just wouldn't work anymore. It wouldn't stand up. And so you would, what's the word I want? You would compress the fibers. So you want to make sure that you are standing them in something. So stand them in something like this, or we have the holder for them. Now, how you use these, you want your hand not to be right at the very bottom. You want control over this. You are telling this guy who's the boss. So you want your hand pretty close to the top here. And I usually hold mine something like this. So I've got my hand curved around here, and then I am holding on to the top with my index finger and my thumb. Now this is flexible. Okay, so that there is flexible, and that's what we want. So you want to pick up color. You want to dab it off, really important step there, and then you want to swirl it just over top. So we're going for light here, and I'm choosing to go with the pebbled path because I want it to be the same color as my card base. So every time I pick up color, I am tapping it off. And I'm going to go all the way around. It'll be darker in some areas than others, and that's perfectly fine. And you're just creating sort of shadow, shall we say. Shadow to make it have a little bit more interest. So we want to give it some life. We want to give it some je ne sais quoi. I'm not really good at French. I took French in school, all through school when I was a kid, but I hardly use it. How many of you are in that same boat? Okay, so now what you've done is you've given it a lot more depth and dimension. So we're going to leave that for our cover, and let's do really quick. And we have some other folks that are saying foliage. Good answer there, Judy. Same answer as me. Not that everybody has to have the same answer as me, but we're not going to do as much on this one. And I want it to be just a little bit different. So let's just do, I want that to be a little bit darker there. And we're going to come in with some blue. So have them again going different directions. And then we're going to go in with this. Anybody give me an idea of what this is yet? I don't see an answer there. Nobody else knows, right? They're sort of like, I don't know. Look there I am with blue again. I better clean my hands off. And let's put one up here just to hide that. And we're going to do the same thing with our pebbled path. Just really quick. So this isn't the fastest card in the West. This is going to take you just a little bit more time because you're putting the added extras on to give it some depth and dimension. And that's okay because not every card we make is quick. This one is simple, but in terms of putting it together, it's not a fun fold, but you don't have to do a fun fold every time, right? You can still make a fabulous card without it being a fun fold card. Okay. So that's our inside. So how about we put that on the inside of the card and we'll be done. So fold it along the score line. Take your bone folder, turn it over onto the back where because it can create that shiny edge when you're using a bone folder. I think we might be done with those. I think I should probably get rid of them because you know what's going to happen if I don't. Because I seem to be having a bit of a ink day today. And then we are just going to put, I think I want it that way. And we're just going to put that right into the middle. Okay, so that's the inside of the card. Let's close these up. Now, if you ever have a problem closing up your stamp pads, what you can do is these guys here, they snap into place, but they sometimes snap into place and they stay there. So in order to get them going, sometimes you don't want to pull on them too much here. You don't want to break a nail or whatever. So push them just a little bit from this edge, and that will give you enough lip there that you can pull them out and close them up. I'm just going to put them over here. So I tend to do that all the time now so that I don't have to worry about it. Okay. Susan, I think that's a great idea. Susan says they remind her of pussy willows. And I think that you might be very, very close to the truth there. Okay, so let's also put this one on top of our pretty peacock. And that will pop some of the other colors that are in there. And then you just have a very narrow little mat for this one because that is a just a smaller. I wanted the white to be, which is not white now, it's more gray. I wanted that to be the main part, biggest part of the card. So when I'm deciding which way I want this to go, sometimes what I'm doing is I'm looking at whether I think it's heavier on one side or the other. So if it's heavier on one side or the other, top or bottom, I will put the heavier looking, to me, one at the bottom because I think it just makes sense that it sort of falls to the bottom. So if I'm looking at this one this way and this way, because there's nothing here, I actually think that I like it best this way, that it looks just a little bit heavier here. I don't know, you guys can maybe give me your thoughts on it too. Okay, so that's our card. We're going to have this in the middle, but now is where the fun comes in with the dies. So move those guys out of the way. We're done with those. Now you're going to need some liquid glue for this. So I cut, let's pull this out again. I cut a bunch of these. Okay, so just in different colors, in our 3 different colors. So I've got, let me pull them out here for you. And when I'm making a card, I just sort of cut a whole bunch of them. And then whatever I use. And what I put back, I just keep in my little envelope. Now, I think most of you do this, but if not, so I keep an envelope right in my stamp set, and I put in here any of the extras. So any stamps that I do, any dies that I cut that I don't use. So I might end up doing that today too. So the other thing that I did here is I cut some vellum. Now I like the wispiness of the vellum, and the thing with these particular dies is that you're meant to glue on here, and you don't have to worry about gluing these parts down. You glue them here. So we are going to use those guys. I know you can barely see them, but then I also cut some of those small ones in vellum and in the Misty Moonlight. So I've got a bunch of stuff to play with, and we are going to create a spectacular card because we want a spectacular card, but we want lots of stuff on it. So this is a card that someone has gone above and beyond and done something fabulous for you. So there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can either glue them right down onto here, or you can glue them onto the back of your greeting. I would recommend the back of your greeting. And why is if you glue them down on here, your greeting, you may glue them down in such a way, let's just put a couple down here so you can see, you may glue them on so that by the time you're done, your greeting, well, that wasn't a very good example. Let me pull it out this way. Your greeting doesn't cover up those little labels. And that's the whole point, is that you do want the labels cut up. So let's put that to the side. We are just going to, I think what I'm going to do, let me put this on white, the back, because I think it's going to be better. There is no white on the back of that. Let's see, do I have anything with white? Well, I guess I have one of these. We're going to use this. Okay. So what you want to do is you just want to lay these out. And what's great about these is that when you put them together, and they just stack one on top of the other. Okay. They stack on top of one another, but they want to move, obviously. What happens is that they fill in holes. So you can see that even though they're stacked on top of one another, because there's different shapes, and some are bigger and some are smaller, and some are more off to the side, that they make a fullness. But I still found that there were a couple spots that I might have wanted to put something in the middle. So what we are going to do is we're going to create all the way around the greeting. So I'm going to start, I think, with what do I want to start with? It doesn't really matter what we start with. So let's start with our pebbled path. So I'm going to take my liquid glue, And I'm just going to put it right on top. Oh, you know what I'm going to use instead? Something that's made for glue. Our silicone craft sheet. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue right on top here. And I'm going to put that right over top of our very big thank you. Okay, so that's going to be our first layer. And now I think I want to do perhaps this guy right here. Okay, so if I do this guy here, now it's not right over top of that one, but because this is a little bit longer than this, I'm able to put that in so that it fills in some of those holes. So I'm going to do that one next, and I'm going to glue that right over top of the other one. Okay, so you're able to just easily mix and match. I'm not holding a bunch of different dies. So now I'm going to leave that for the moment, and I'm going to come down to the bottom. Okay, so for the bottom, let's put in a little bit of our blue. So let's glue that one down. Put that on top. And you can see how you can just easily create a beautiful image. I think it's beautiful anyway. Now we're going to pull in one of our vellums. This is the one with the hole, which matches that guy there. So I'm not going to repeat it up there. I'm going to put it down on the bottom. So I'm going to glue here as well. And you can see rather than, I'm not getting glue all over my fingers. It's perfect. Okay, that one's over top. So you can see how it's filling it out now a little bit. So I think I need also a little bit of green down here. So which way do I want to go? Do I want to do that, or do I want to actually cut myself one more piece? I might want to cut myself one more piece, but let's leave that one to the end, and let's put in a little bit of blue up here. Just carry some of the blue. So now we have where we're just going to add a little bit to the rest. Place that right over top. It's going to fill in a hole. And do we want to do this guy on the bottom? Maybe. We can also cut pieces off of there if we wanted. That's okay. So we're creating, remember, we're going stunning, we're going big and bold, and then we're not going home until it's done. I see a bunch of different folks joining us who haven't joined before, so thank you very much, everybody, for coming along and for playing along. If you put a comment in, I'm going to be giving away this card when we get it done. And you know, do I need that down there? Maybe I do. How about I cut one more piece, and I'm pulling in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I want a little bit of that pretty peacock. So I need to get a little scrap. Don't need anything too large. You can see this is the scrap I actually used. And I'm going to go for, find my dies. I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go for this guy right here. I'm going to go for this guy. We'll do two. That guy and that guy. And again, I don't know why these are male. They're male chromosome botanicals, I guess. Linda agrees with the heavy looking part at the bottom. So that's a tip for everybody that you can use. So I'm going to put this aside now. Got my pieces, and they just pop right out of there. Now you will find that you're either going to want to use your die brush, or you're going to want to take your pick tool and just go into the little holes here and poke them out. Okay, and then sort of carefully peel them away. They're not hard at all to get out. They just stick in there a little bit. Okay, so there's our pieces there. Now let's see, and put those back. Let's see where I think that they can go in. So how about we put one back here? So all we want is a little bit of green, maybe over there. I'm going to put one over there. So what I'm looking for here as I'm doing this is I'm trying to balance off the pretty peacock at the top. Okay, so what we're doing is just adding a little bit more, filling it out, but we're also going to have pretty peacock sort of all the way around our image. I'll give that a moment to set up, and then let's put this guy down here. Okay, so it's just going to be subtle. Okay, so it's just there, and we're going to see it even more when it goes on top of here. Okay, and so let's put a blue one over on this side, and then I think we're almost done. We can certainly overdo this. If you like really clean and simple, you can do it with this stamp set and these dies. I have done it. We did that for my open house. I think we need a little bit of vellum over here, maybe at the top, just to soften it up a little bit. Turn that one's upside down, I can tell, because there's ridges on it. How many people like using vellum on your cards in this way so that you can just add lovely little pieces of just something? And I don't know that we need any more than that. Do we want this guy here? No, I don't think so. Let's leave it off. If we put it on the card and we think we need something, you guys can let me know. So when we get to that stage, let me know if you think it needs a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to find my dimensionals. Those are little baby guys. I want the big guys. We're just going to put this on put your dimensionals right over top of where your cardstock is, so that it's just going to set it in place even more, just in case. And one in the middle. So I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, poke it right into the backing, and it will come right out of there. I find that if I get 4 or 5 on there, then I need to pull them off. Put that guy back. Let's put this on here. And I realized the one thing I didn't do was give it some shadowing on here, but I think it's okay without. So this is going to go right in the middle. And again, you're eyeballing that. Okay, so there is your card. And let's put, how about some in-color dots on there? We can go, yeah, I think that that's going to work. So I like that the pebbled path is just going to, it's going to complement, it's not going to overshadow anything. So I find now that these are on here pretty good. So I sort of bend it back a little bit, and then I can pick up. So I'm just going to place these around. I think I'm going to go for 5 on here. So it's easy to overdo this. I mean, I might only end up with 3. We'll just see. And we'll go for our big guy too. Up here, over there. Now, if you're finding that it's hard to find a spot for it, you probably don't need a lot. So I think I'm just going to do that. Now I can see that I have a tiny little bit of glue there, which you guys probably can't see. So I'm just going to use my adhesive remover just to go over that. And so do you think that we need anything more on there? Put a comment in and let me know. I'm going to pull out the one that I had done as a sample, and you can let me know which one you like the best. Let me pull everything out of the way. So I'm just looking for your comments. So this is the one I had made in advance. So this one is using white. This one is using very vanilla. And I agree, Carolyn, that the vellum always adds a nice look and it softens everything. Yes, it definitely does. And so let me know which one appeals to you more. The colors on this one here are Pecan Pie, Lost Lagoon, and I actually have in here some Pool Party, but I also pulled in some Blueberry Bushel for the berries, and then use the Pecan Pie to shadow all the way around it. And then this one here, as you know, is the Pretty Peacock with the Misty Moonlight and the Pebbled Path. So I'm interested to know which one of these is your favorite. And so the question I asked you at the beginning was, do you like flowers or leaves more? And I think that everybody, almost everybody, said flowers. And this one has both. And I just wanted to show you that there's a lot of versatility in a set that has both, especially one that has so much so many words with it. So we're getting that this one's a little softer look. Linda says it's a hard decision to make. Yeah, they are both very pretty. This one is a cooler look, and this one I think is a warmer look, and it's because of the vanilla and also because of the brown. So thank you everybody for joining me. Make sure you head on over and look at my blog posts, for it'll be up tomorrow, and you can see this a little bit more up close and personal. It'll have all the measurements on there as well as all of the supplies, so that if you wanted to make one, you could make one for yourself. Okay, thanks for joining me, and we will see you again next week when we will be on our Facebook Live. Bye-bye.